Hi guys, it's Artist Sharon here. I'm so excited to see you guys. I know it's not face to face this week, but I am still so excited that we get together. This week we're going to be focusing on an artist called Vincent Van Gogh. This is going to be the first of two paintings that we do with him that are inspired by him. The first will be Sunflowers and the second will be Starry Night. Both of these give us a bit of a challenge and both use different techniques to be able to create these pictures. So Vincent Van Gogh was born in March 1853 and he died in July in 1890. So he was only 37 years old when he died. So Vincent Van Gogh didn't make much money when he was a working artist, not from his artwork anyway. He was one of these artists that became famous after he died, and he had a very turbulent life while he was alive. So one of my favourite quotes from Vincent Van Gogh is, "If you hear a voice within say you cannot paint, then by all means paint and the voice will be silenced." So I love this quote because no matter what your skill level, putting something down on paper or canvas, or even just getting messy with paint, pencils, pastels, whatever medium kind of draws you in, no end in sight as to what you can actually do with your creativity. So today we're going to be focusing on a beautiful series of works by Van Gogh. Very cheery, very happy. It's one of the ones that he would do many paintings of, so there's no picture that is the sunflowers. It's a series of paintings. He was part of an impressionist movement, so he wasn't looking to get realism out of his work. He was wanting to paint more the impression of the flowers. He wanted to portray the feeling and the feeling within the work, rather than making it photorealistic. So we're going to focus on the sunflowers today. Next week we'll look at Starry Night, which is a beautiful impressionist piece. But this week we're going to look at the sunflowers and make our very own Van Gogh inspired painting of some flowers. We're going to stick with his colour scheme, which is lots of lovely yellows, oranges and reds. Very cheerful, very happy, and we might even throw in a few dead sunflowers, just to see the whole evolution of a flower in a vase. Let's get painting. Alright, let's go. So I've got my paints. We've got yellow, crimson, scarlet, orange, black and white. So it's going to be a very monochrome painting, which is pretty cool. We haven't done one of these yet. I've got my water, my paper towel. You can also use a cloth, which I usually do. And this week, instead of a canvas, I'm using a canvas pad. So I have masking taped the edges of it, and that's just so it doesn't get onto any of our other paper. And this is quite simply, it's just a layer of canvas, which is super cool. So you can still paint. You can paint it in acrylics and in oils. You can also do some collage with it. It's very cool. We sell it. So hit us up if you want some. I've also got out an assortment of brushes. So I've got a 10 flat, a 10 round, a a second 10 flat just in case, and then I've got a couple of round brushes for detailing. So I've got a size 2 I believe, no sorry, size 1, possibly a 2 or 3, I'm not sure, and a size 2. This one is just one of those cheap ones. These Montmartre ones in yellow I do sell a beginner pack with, so it comes with a couple of flats, a couple of rounds, and like a detailer I think. I'd have to double check, but they'll all be in our description below. And last but not least, I've got my trusty pencil. So I generally like to draw with a HB. HB for acrylics, and I might go a bit finer, like a H2 if I'm doing watercolours. But for this one, a HB or a 2B is fine. We just don't want to press too heavy. So what we're going to do is we're going to start drawing. And this will give us a rough idea of where we want our painting to be situated. So because the flowers and the vase are going to be the main focus of our painting, we're going to start with just a simple oval in the bottom half of our picture. Then we're just going to pop it on a table so that it's not floating through the sky. We're going to flatten out the base, so chop off part of the vase, go over the curves at the top so that they come and meet at the same place, and then we are going to do, so you'll see you've got a nice round top on it. We're going to do the other way to make it an eye shape, and that is the basics of our vase. And then I'm just going to gently erase the top of the vase and the bottom of the vase. This is just so we know that they're not where we want things to be. Alright, next job, what we're going to do is we're going to go in with our paint, because I'm going to show you a super easy trick for doing the flowers. So starting with our flat 10 brush, I'm going to pop it in some water just to wet it. We don't want it too wet. Wipe the excess off. And then we're going to choose a colour for our background, which for me I'm going to choose yellow, and I'm going to add in a bit of white just so that it's not quite so bright. And we're going to make like a cream colour, and then I'm going to put that into the background, so that's going to be my wall. there we have our background. Now we're going to choose a colour for the top of my table. And I think I'm going to go with a pinky salmon colour. So just where I've mixed the yellow, I'm going to bring in some of the scarlet with some white, and I'm going to bring in some more of that yellow. So it's almost like a flesh tone even, and I'm just going to put that down the bottom for my table. Not worrying too much if the colours aren't perfectly blended together. Remember, this is an impressionist piece, so it is what our impression of a table is, and our impression of what a vase and sunflower is, which is going to change as we get older. So you may notice I didn't actually wash my brush between that colour change, and that's because what was on my brush was already adequate. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to do the vase. So for my vase, I'm going to go with one of the very traditional vases that he has, and it's just a two-toned vase. So for this, I'm going to stick with my muted tones, and I'm actually going to flip. So I'm going to put this colour at the top, and I'm going to put a very lighter version of this colour down the bottom. Now you can choose whatever you like. There is no right and wrong way. You can do a vase with stripes on it. You could do a vase with polka dots on it. Whatever you want your vase to look like. So I'm going to go, for this one I'm going to go about a third of the way down with this colour. And I'm going to wash my brush off. I'm going to bring in some white into this with more yellow. Probably use up most of my white here and have to get some more. And I'm going to do that on the bottom. And then just to make this look a bit more like a glazed vase, I'm just going to blend in that shadow, that harsh line across the middle. And I'm also going to use some of this darker colour just down the sides to give it a bit more dimension, just so it doesn't get lost. So I'm only doing this very lightly. There we go. I'm just going to bring in some of it. Actually, I might bring this one. And bring in some scarlet, some red and some black together. And just mix it in. Just trying to get a bit of a shadow colour happening underneath. And then with a wet brush, we're just going to blend it in a bit. And then I'm going to pick up some of this table colour. And then just blend her out. You don't have to do this. As I said, everyone's picture is different. You're all going to have your own ideas. I just want to give my tabletop a bit of depth and just kind of have our shadows. Doesn't matter too much though, because we're going to come back and Van Gogh does outline in this picture, so it doesn't matter too much what your shading is because they're going to stand out on that table anyway. Alright, next up, I think we're going to do, for mine, I think I'm going to do about 4 or 5 flowers. First of all, I'm going to go in with my white, and I am just going to place where I want the middles of my flowers. So this part is important so that we know where our flowers are going, but also how big they're going to be. I want some just kind of overlapping, and I think I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. Sorry about that, we're still getting over a cold. And do a nice big one up here. Might do a droopy one down here. So we do like to work in, I'll put one here, in odd numbers where we can. Alright, so now we've got the centre of our flowers. What we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to start adding in our leaves. So these are going to be different size flowers, different shades. So I'm going to get my round brush, give her a bath, because we want her nice and moist. And then I'm going to come in with my orange. And what I'm going to do is I am going to start with the one that will be at the back, and I think that that's going to be probably this one here. And I'm just going to pull my flowers using the shape of the brush, pull it out, lay it down, pull it in. You can also just pull straight from the outside, straight into the centre. And then I'm going to bring in some white, and I need to get some more yellow. And I'm going to get some yellow. It's going to make that orange a little bit less bright. And I'm going to do the same, but within the gaps of those flowers, to give the flower a bit more dimension. And then I'll do this one more time, but I'm going to add in some more yellow, and then go back. So I might even add in a tiny touch of the black. And just pop that in as a small. So you notice the center of our flower is getting smaller. That's okay. And then with a bit more black into that funny brown, and add some black and some yellow, and we're just going to dab it into the center of our flower, and that is going to give, so it's going to mix with the white that is already there. I'm going to bring in some more yellow. That's going to give that nice look to the centre of our flower. They can be quite furry. And then just to the edge of that, I'm just going to bring in maybe a couple of flowers, a couple more petals in behind, just to really round out that flower. And we're going to do that with the rest of our flowers, in varying shades of orange, red and yellow. If you find your paint's getting a bit too thin, just dip very carefully in the water and draw it up, and then just add it to the paint and keep going. I'm also going to mix my flowers up, and for some of them I'm just going to do one layer of petals, because like people, flowers are unique and they don't always all grow the same. Don't worry if your flowers blend in. We can come back and sort that out later.
Are you doing voice recording?
And then lastly, I've got this little one down here. I'm going to do him with some kind of dead-looking tones, I think. And he's going to be a bit droopy and a bit scraggly. So he's not going to have many. And his centre is going to be a bit darker as well. He's a bit of a dead flower. Now while that's drying, I'm going to get some more yellow on my palette, because as you can see it's yellow and white are probably the colours in this that I'm using the most. And I'm just going to come back in. I'm actually going to use a smaller brush now. I'm going to come back in with, I'm going to change to this size 1 round brush. And particularly in this yellow one here, I'm going to just pay a little bit of attention to the ends of my petals. Those areas that are just overlapping a bit. So this is where you can bring out those highlights. You can get as detailed or as little detail as you like. Benefits of acrylics is you can get you can be quite liberal with your use. You can build up your colours, and you can build up the thickness of the paint as well. So coming back into it, this one's looking, for me, it's looking a bit pink, so I'm just going to go back in and add in that yellow. And you'll notice as you do this, the paint that's already there, it's not completely dry, it's starting to take on the colour of the yellow, and without even having to mix, it's already changing colours, which is super cool. I love it. So it's blending it. It's making every petal different. And I haven't even had to think about it. I've just had to go in with yellow on my brush and just dab it around. I'll just turn the light away a bit. So there we go. This is how she's looking so far. I want a bit more yellow in the centres, and maybe a bit of yellow along here. I'll just go back in with my brush, just make those. And then with the smaller brush, again, I'm just going to go into the centre with the dabbing. But I'm not going to do this everywhere. I'm just going to choose little sections of our flower. They don't all have to be the same spot. And then I'm going to go back in again with some scarlet and orange. And play with that a bit. Again, blending the colours together in the middle and making it come around. Because these ones are our live ones. We want these to look bright and happy. And then, as a finishing off, I am just going to go straight in with the black, but not too much on my brush. You'll see I'm taking most of it off. And I'm going to go back in and just outline with my tapping just around the outside of the centre of those flowers. And there we have it. You're more than welcome to leave your painting like this, or if you're wanting to take it a little bit further, Van Gogh does in some of his paintings put in outlines in various places. So I'm going to, with my number 2 round brush or detailer, is just go around the outsides of the vase. Again, I'm not being super neat. This isn't a neatness exercise. I'm going to just go around some of these flowers. Not all of them, but particularly this dead one. Just to give it a bit of definition. And then I'm going to do this, actually I might do all the flowers, but as you can see I'm just doing quick flicks with my brush. And it is picking up the colour of the flowers, but I'm not too worried. That just brings a softness to it. And this will also help to define which of your flowers are in the front, which are in the back. You can divide up some of these petals if you're not happy with how thick they are. You might decide, well, this flower here is starting to stand out, so I'm actually going to go in and I am going to make him over this one, and then you just work around the petals of that flower. So you pull this one out by putting its petals in. Particularly those ones that are a bit hard to see, and then you go back in and you just put in the little bits of petals of the ones that have been pushed behind. I'm going to do the same for this one. So this one's now been pushed behind. I'm not even really bothering to put too much paint on my brush. Where I need to, I'm just popping it in the water just to rehydrate what's on there. Then we're going to do this back one. So for some of these it's even just adding some lines in, it's not doing full petals. And maybe adding a bit more black around there. And then just line off the table. And there you have it. Your very own Van Gogh inspired monochromatic vase of flowers. Don't forget to sign it in the bottom. To do that, we get some water on our brush. We don't brush it off this time, and we bring up some black paint. We make it into a nice loose, almost watercolour type texture, and we just sign the bottom of it. There we are. All done. So I hope you enjoyed the painting this week. Really looking forward to seeing some of your paintings online over at Facebook, Instagram, even my email. If you want to send photos in, that would be great. Link in the description to all my social media and the website where you can also buy straight from me to help support making these videos and support the students in person. We have some basic art kits going at the moment, and they will be changing and swapping around, so you'll be able to buy the kit for this video online very soon. So stick around, check it out, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you get notified every time we put a video up, and have a good week. Bye.